Sometimes these are really hard to move. If you need to, you can get a punch. In this case, a block of wood. Just like that. That'll lift right out typically. Sometimes you got to really pull. 4-end cap lever. Pull it forward, comes right out. I'm going to be using the K-Var handguard. It's a much bigger tenon back here than what's going to fit in that receiver. This is typical of a Chinese receiver, much less room there. So we're going to cut this down. Multi-tool, saw. Now this heat shield, because the Chinese barrels are a little bit bigger, there's very little room in there for the clamps that we're going to use to attach the UltiMAK Optic Mount. So before I cut this down to size, I'm going to file the bottom of it a little bit to allow it to come down slightly. Well, it gives you more room here. The bottom of the tenon.
Okay.
And it'll cut to right about here. I'm using a Leatherman because it's more likely what people will have available. Doing this at kind of an angle,
right?
So it'll help it fit in.
Right.
Wedge its way in a little bit. Just take some of the burrs off. Now we can see where the pressure points are. Well, it's chewing into the sides here, so that needs to come down a bit. You look for that sort of thing all the way around. I would say that's it.
Okay, what about the heat shield?
The heat shield can stay right where it is.
Oh, I thought you said that it had to come out earlier.
Well, now if a person really wants to, you can pop the heat shield out like so. It just comes right out.
Okay.
But I like to leave them in. It's kind of nice to have.
Sure. Keeps David Fortier happy.
Yes. Okay, this is the M2B. It emulates the hole pattern on the original gas tube. Not a big deal, but for the Chinese AKs, this is what we use. This, I want to point out, are the instructions. Good to read these in advance. We're not going to read through them because we wrote them. Again, the Chinese barrels are a little bit bigger. Things are going to be a little tighter. Clamps are going in. We're going to push that tight up against the barrel as much as we can. And we're going to get the screws started, hopefully without any cross threading. Now we're going to position the mount side to side. That's pretty well centered front to back. It looks good. And there's a little bit of gap back here because this AK is a little longer than some. A little bit of gap here. Whatever looks good will work. Now we're not going to fully tighten this. 4-end cap is still unlocked. We've got the clamps sucked up against the barrel. Now it'll make room.
So let's go ahead and hold that rifle out like that.
Hopefully get this in place. And there it is. But now we can't lock our 4-end cap because the mount's in place. So now the mount has to come back off. That's the trick you have to do with these K-Var forends. You just want to show it's quite doable. It just takes this extra step. Normally you would have locked this forend cap in place before you installed the mount, and the forend of course would be there.
So why not just put the clamps on first?
If you put the clamps in, the clamps don't wrap snug all the way around the barrel because this is a slightly longer or slightly larger barrel. So what we did was we put the mount in there with the screws in it to pull the clamps tight against the barrel, making more room for the heat shield.
Gotcha. And why take it all the way off?
It has to come off in order to lock the forend cap.
So you can't like loosen it 90% of the way? And,
No,
okay.
this lever won't rotate as long as that gas tube is there.
Okay.
Okay. Clamps are held tightly in place, and now hopefully we'll be able to lock that. Sometimes you have to give it a little bit of persuasion. Done. Now the mount can go back on, right over the clamps.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little persuasion. This is alloy steel screws into a 4140 steel clamp. You're not going to strip those threads unless you have superhuman strength.
Do you have a torque wrench or an indicating wrench?
We don't. We could give torque specs, but how many people are going to have inch-pound torque wrenches in their homes?
No, I just meant to say that you could show.
Right.
You could say, look, here's a torque wrench. It's indicating how much torque we're putting on this. It's not stripping out.
You can use a lot of torque. With this little wrench, you're not going to overdo it. Maybe Schwarzenegger could be a problem, but the worst thing that's going to happen is you'll break a screw. Okay, that's tight. I can't move it any farther. We just want to make sure it cycles. That easy transition for the piston between the tube and the block.